Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and record this AMA today so that will be available for replay later. We'll get started in just a moment here. We'll just give everybody one more minute to join. Appreciate you all joining us this morning. And we'll just go ahead and dive right in since my clock shows it's a minute after. So thank you everyone for joining today's AMA. We appreciate you joining us to discuss the alpha release of Saga Chain. Please note, as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and record this and we'll make it available in the future. If you have any questions you'd like our host to answer, please type them in the community AMA text channel just above this one in this Discord. And today we're joined by our EVP, Chief Alliance Officer, Nicole Colwell, and our Chief Product Officer, Rich Phillips. So with that, I will hand it over to them and let them get started.
Hey, thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. Really excited to have a conversation with our Chief Product Officer, Rich Phillips. Going to talk a bit about what's going on with Prasaga, and we'll dive right in. Rich, so we've had some progress made. We've had an update on Saga Chain. What's just happened release-wise?
Yeah, so last week we put out our alpha release. So till now we've been working in a pre-alpha stage, mostly internal development work with some community input too. We've got to a point now with enough of the features built out and enough stability in what we have created that we could move into an alpha release. So what does that really mean? That allowed us to be able to create accounts and be able to nest accounts within each other, to be able to create assets as objects within those accounts, to be able to perform basic transactions, so transacting assets between accounts, much as we were intending to do. Now, there's no consensus in there yet, so it is effectively a shell transaction of just passing objects back and forth, but the mechanism is now working. We are able to digitally sign and verify those signatures against those transactions and against accounts and against objects. We've created a kind of multiple level setup to allow you to sign pretty much most things in the system and verify that the individuals and the accounts involved are exactly who they say they are. And obviously we've also created the foundation classes as part of Saga Python that allow all this to come together and to allow you as a community to build apps against it.
Fantastic. So really for our developer community, now they can start building, right?
Exactly. So, I mean, we've had the code has been in the public repository on code.prasaga.com for a little while now. We've put the alpha version of the code in there too, so that is absolutely available for anybody within the community, anybody in the user community, anyone who wants to add to the project, contribute to it. It's all there ready to start going. People can start testing the creation of apps on top of the chain, start creating accounts and the structures that they would want to represent a digital twin of whatever it is that they are trying to build capabilities for.
So it's really an exciting update because it's the first time you can actually, we've had the code out like you said, but you can actually start working, start moving things around, seeing how it works. We don't have a consensus algorithm in place yet, but we're still in this testing phase. So it's a really good time to build, right?
Exactly. This is where we have fundamentally the structure of how Saga Python and the whole Saga chain will look and feel going forward is basically there now. So you're in a position where you've got stability in terms of the code base and the way that that's going to look and feel, so that you could, with reasonable clarity, start building apps and capabilities on top of what we have there now, in the knowledge that if it's going to change, it's not going to be huge changes to your app on top.
That's really exciting. I know our community has been, waiting for this period, and we're finally there. And so this is a great time to start building. What are some other benefits right now of getting started now?
So this is effectively gets ahead of the curve. So it's by starting to build the capabilities and the apps now on top of what is our operating system, it means that when we fully at the, if you want to call it testnets level and the mainnet level and ready to list, that means your apps are then built, tested, and ready to go. So that when we are launching, your apps are launching at the same time, and you're taking advantage of the initial launch phase and the rise in the value of the token that comes with that. So getting prepared and ahead of that curve now is paramount for the new app builders who want to take advantage of our capabilities in our layer one.
And we already have projects that are building on our chain. And one of the things that is exciting for me, seeing the different types of applications that are being built, it's not, we have, opportunities for enterprise in different industries. We have several projects building. Let's talk about a few of those.
Absolutely, and you know as well as I do on some of those projects. So be good to hear your thoughts on them as well. But we've got a wide range of different projects. These are not all just automotive, or they're not all just aviation. We have that pet cloud project, which is in effect building they term it a supply chain, I guess, for military dogs, military animals who, once they've done their service, they need to be rehomed, they need to have veterinary care, all of that needs to be tracked. And, all of their care and attention post-service, post-duty, needs to have all of that logged and tracked and made available for, between the owners and between the rehoming and the housing associations that are looking after them. So there's a great opportunity there for an app that can start small and start building from there. And there's a couple of different projects that have a similar sort of thread to them, just on that particular vein alone. We've had other people looking at how they could leverage some of the NFT style capabilities that we'll have within the chain. I think one of those was around the beauty lines, the beauty product lines. So that'll be interesting how that takes shape. And likewise, we've got people who are interested in doing some of the more sort of traditional verticals that we are, clearly dedicated towards, the supply chain and the automotive and the aviation pieces. People are starting to think through how they could bring that to market and what that could mean for their use cases in their businesses.
Well, that's what's exciting to me is the versatility here, right? Because you and I come from enterprise. We've worked in manufacturing, we've worked with aviation and automotive. We have that type of background, and we see those use cases. Now we're seeing all these additional ones coming into play, these projects that hadn't even been thought of yet. And that's what's really exciting about this time, at least for me. I'm thinking, okay, this is very much like Web 1, where, had no idea what would be built. And that's kind of where we're at right now, especially with Saga Chain is, I think the coolest applications haven't even been brought forward yet, or they're still in development or haven't been thought of yet. And we're starting to see some of those come in, as you mentioned, Animal Cloud, very cool project, military dog supply chain application. And then they also have a commercial side to that as well.
Right, I forgot that, exactly.
Wellness of dogs and pets in general, which is very cool for consumers. Then, as you mentioned, Holy Gloss, another project building with us that is about loyalty program and for a beauty company and an organic, I believe it's like a natural beauty company. They're launching a whole NFT loyalty program, and that's really exciting. We also have My Data as another one that.
Oh, that's a huge one. Yeah, that's going to be a life-changing one for many people, I believe. Yeah, go ahead. That's a great project.
Yeah, no, it's a really great project, and is the concept of really going back to what Web3 is all about owning your data, right? And so that's a really exciting one because we're seeing with my data the ability to take ownership of your data and to decide if you want to rent it out or sell it. You have control there. And with that project, really being something that can hit multiple industries, multiple opportunities it can be for consumers, but it can also be with companies as well. So really exciting projects.
Definitely. And even just in some of the conversations that I've been having and some of my tours around the place, there's a definite sort of opportunity to leverage this technology in sort of humanitarian efforts as well. A use case I came across in my travels recently found there's so many children, like 500,000 children on the streets of Kenya, specifically around some of the capital cities, that are basically they've walked out of home. They don't have any place to go to. And because of the way the Kenyan laws work, they can't get their formal identity sort of numbers, passports, all those sort of stuff until they're 18 years old. So they're effectively identityless other than a name until that point. And yet they still need medicinal treatments. They still need to go to school. And the state are trying to do that, but they need to have somewhere tracking them. Well, a blockchain would be a great way, and especially with ours, with a truly unique identifier for every person or asset within the system. They can have their ID, they can have it in there. We can have all of the genealogy of all of the history that goes along with them, all of the treatments they've had, any school time, and the certificates they've earned along the way can all be put in against their own account, so that when they hit 18, that can be migrated into the state systems to be tracked further. And that's just a tiny fraction of the overall country, let alone similar situations across all of Africa. So the use cases here are really sort of starting to open up, and you just start to have these conversations with the user community, the potential user community, on some of the challenges that they're facing, and you can see where the application of this blockchain ledger, ignoring even the currency aspects, just the ledger technology itself, if applied in the right way, because we've simplified it with this account asset hierarchical model, it's so much simpler for people to kind of create their digital twin of reality in the chain and keep track of all of this stuff.
I mean, the possibilities are endless. And when you bring up like the Kenya example, you can see that, as you said, that's only just a fraction of the population there that could apply to. Where else could it apply, right? Looking to expand that into other programs, and really that digital identity can be used in so many different ways.
Exactly. We said it a few times of late, and I think we'll keep saying it because it really does matter. We are the chain that are building for the 96% and not focused on the 4% like the other chains. We're not just about DeFi. We're not just about fintech. We're here to solve the bigger challenges around the globe that those guys are really just not addressing at all.
Well, exactly. And that goes back to our 4 Ps, right? Purpose, people, planet, philanthropy, and the impact that can be made utilizing this technology. Another reason, open source technology allows you to be able to go in at virtually no cost, low to no cost, to be able to create and to build. And that's what's really exciting about the work that we're doing. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely agreed.
So, what can our community expect next?
Yep, absolutely. So coming up here, now we're into an alpha status. We are steadily building towards a position where we could effectively enter the kind of the first of the test networks. We don't necessarily like to call it testnet per se. That's very tied to a specific set of technologies that isn't really us. But I mean, in effect that level. So we're going to have an initial private version of that test network where we'll have the validator nodes that have been part of a validator round, which is going to be around 1,000 nodes operating on the network, testing, performing real live transactions with consensus running, all of those good things. And once we know that we have stability, we don't have to reset the network and get the chain restart or any of those sort of silly things that our sort of brethren within the community have to do. Then we'll open it up for public sort of ability to get on board and create a node and start performing transactions. That's going to be in the order of end of Q1 for listing, so working backwards from there. Probably end of January, middle February, we'll be sort of opening things up for sort of public testing.
Wow, that'll be here before you know it.
It will. It truly will.
It
And
really.
just so you know, the community.
Go
So just
ahead.
so the community, you know, I mean, in effect, in order to run a node, right? And I'm just sort of looking here. There's the potential opportunity for some of these questions coming up. For anybody who's interested in running a node today, you need to be part of the validator sale round in order to be running a node in that first sort of private test net. Post that in the public rounds, operating a node can be done on existing infrastructure that you may already hold. It can be run from cloud infrastructure. You could run mining operations on existing sort of GPU tech that you have for maybe Bitcoin mining. We don't specifically require a dedicated set of capabilities here. It's nothing extraneous here. So general purpose computing is sufficient to be able to run this. What we do recommend, however, is given the scalability of our network and the way in which the peer-to-peer operations are looking like, having at least 100 base T network would be beneficial as a sort of internet connection out. So something along those lines would be a sort of minimum from our perspective. But otherwise, from a compute perspective, it's relatively straightforward. Once we've got a little bit further down the line with the node server software sort of more completed than it is today and consensus running, we'll have a better feel for if there are any other sort of minimum spec requirements for the infrastructure necessary to run this.
Well, and that brings up a good point. I mean, we've designed things to reduce the barriers to entry, right? With those configurations, and being able to be flexible there, but also even as we're building Saga Chain, utilizing Python, for example, another reason we went with that.
Exactly. The choice of language was very intentional here. We wanted to make sure that we weren't forcing users to start learning Rust or Solidity, that they could take a language which was well known, well taught, very simple to pick up for people to sort of get on board and start using this. Saga Python is not a one-to-one match with kind of the Python programming language, but if you are already programming in Python, this isn't going to look too dissimilar. It's going to look very familiar. The way in which you create the constructs and the classes and do the callbacks is going to be very similar to the way you do things today. There are some specific things that need to be done in a certain way, and we have tutorials and training material and all of the videos necessary to help you through that. Not least being able to reach out and discuss here too. But otherwise, you can get going with it in much the same way as you'd expect to create apps within Python today.
Wow, so we have a lot going on. Great. Thank you, Rich. Appreciate the update on the latest with Saga Chain. And as you mentioned, if you have questions, reach out. You can ask them here in Discord. Reach out to us. Let us know how we can help you. And I'll go back to Adam now. Any other questions coming in? Or we can just go back and answer them.
Yep. So far, there haven't been any questions from those who have joined us today, so I think we can probably wrap it up. I definitely want to say thank you both to Rich and Nicole for your time today. We really appreciate it. Thanks to those in the community who joined us this morning and today for this AMA. And we hope to see you next time. We'll be doing more AMAs in the new year. And with that, we hope everybody has a great holiday season and a happy new year. And thanks for being here.